Good morning and welcome everyone. The audio system seems to be working. It's 10 o'clock and it's now time for me to open the hearings part of the examination into the Central and Eastern Berkshire Joint Minerals and Waste Plan. As the plan has been prepared jointly by 4 constituent authorities, Breeze we will refer to these as the authorities as we go through, and similarly the plan itself, we just refer to as the plan. My name is Rachel Bust. I am a Chartered Town Planner, and alongside me is Nick Palmer, who is also a Chartered Town Planner. And together we've been appointed by the Secretary of State for Housing, Community and Local Government under Section 20 of the Planning and Compulsory Purchase Act 2004, as amended, to hold this examination into the soundness of the plan and to produce a report of our conclusions and recommendations with regards to settlements. In case you're not familiar with the process of examinations, please address us as either Inspector or Mr. Palmer as us. Before we begin, can everyone hear me very clearly? Excellent. So, housekeeping matters, I just need to cover a few things. First of all, I'd like to introduce Stephanie Street, who is the Programme Officer for this examination. So Stephanie works under our direction. She's not been involved in the plan preparation process directly or indirectly, but she's responsible for all the administrative processes for the examination itself. And outside of the sessions, any contact you need to make with us is through Stephanie. A reminder that everyone present, all officers participants will need to sign in at reception. It's a building requirement rather than an examination requirement. And in terms of the layout of this room, any members of the public or interested parties who are just observing will be sitting at the back, opposite us. And the usual conventions will apply that there's usually 1 seat at the table per participant, and any supporters will be sitting behind. So depending on the topic that's being discussed, discreetly swapping seats is absolutely fine. As there are 4 authorities, plus Hampshire, you'll have 2 seats available, but you can swap as and when necessary. We have the audio system in place, so there aren't any special instructions. It literally is the button on the right-hand side, and the red light comes on to indicate that you're talking. You can see that it's working. Apparently, we can have more than one on at any one time. Sometimes systems are restricted, and just press the button again when you finish talking. I understand not to change anything of the buttons that are on my process. In terms of the fire alarm, we are told that the fire alarm is tested on Monday at 9 AM, so if there is a fire alarm that sounds, it is not a drill. So the assembly point is outside the front of the town hall by the fountain, so you can leave by the exits at the back. And the nearest toilet to the council chamber through the exit door, and keep to my left on that side of the hallway. Carefully make sure that our phones are switched off or to silent, and kept throughout the session in that state. Is anybody from the press present? We are recording the sessions. The camera is in the top corner of the room at the back there. And I understand these recordings will be recorded and collected onto YouTube and published next week as a group. So we're not live streaming in real time. Is there anybody present who wishes to film or record in addition to the official recording? So our role as inspectors is to assess whether the plan satisfies the requirements of the 2004 Act, relevant regulations, and whether it is sound. So in order to be sound, the National Planning and Policy Framework states the plan should be positively prepared, justified, effective and consistent with national policy. So these hearings are intended to assist us in that regard. So in submitting the plan, the authorities consider that their plan is sound, and that's the starting point for the examination. So where participants wish to challenge the soundness of the plan, then you need to explain to us why it's unsound and what changes would make it sound. So there are 3 possible outcomes to the examination process. Firstly, that the submitted plan is sound, legally compliant, and no modifications are necessary. That is the unusual scenario. Secondly, the plan is not sound, but could be made sound by changes, if necessary, following those further work by the authorities. Or finally, the third option is the submitted plan is not sound and could not be made so by changes. So just a few words about changes. So once a plan has been submitted, there are only two ways in which changes can be made. Firstly, made modifications, which are recommended by inspectors, and additional modifications, which are made by the authorities on adoption. So for us to recommend made modifications, if required to make the plan sound, the authorities must formally invite us to do so in accordance with Section 70, subsection 7C of the Planning and Compulsory Purchase Act 2004. And the policies map itself is not a development plan document, so consequently we don't have the power to recommend modifications to that directly. But in the event any modifications to the plan require a consequential amendment to the policies map, then they should be published alongside rather than as part of the main modifications. So we can only recommend main modifications if they are necessary to resolve problems that would otherwise make the plan unsound. And main modifications, to define them, are changes that would materially alter the plan or its policies. And in the interest of fairness to all, there will need to be a public consultation stage on the main modifications, which will take place after the hearing sessions, and it may require further sustainability appraisal work alongside those. For the additional modifications, these are changes which do not materially affect the policies in the plan. They're made by the councils on adoption, and sometimes referred to as minor modifications. As I said earlier, the main modifications do not fall within the scope of the examination, so it's the authorities that are fully accountable for them. Generally, they typically involve factual updates, correction of any type of graphical errors, etc. that have been spotted. Now, we are aware the authorities have proposed a number of changes to the plan in the schedule of proposed modifications document. That's document reference MD01, which is on the examination website. And those proposed modifications are also referenced in the hearing position statements. I need to stress at this stage, though, the authorities' proposed modifications are just that. So our role is to assess whether the submitted plan is sound, and we'll discuss the proposed changes as we go along. So can I ask the authorities collectively to be quite proactive about it and make sure we cover all of the main modifications in the schedule? And that will also apply to participants who are seeking changes. And we will answer again each issue in each session, whether we've covered all the main modifications and everyone's clear. So can I also say to the authorities, keep an eye on thinking about whether any sustainability appraisal amendments will be necessary as we go along as the debate goes forward. So as the hearing sessions progress, can we request the authorities to keep an eye on that running schedule of those modifications, and those changes which you propose support will have no objections to move on. In terms of the format, we're quite happy for you to have additions, underlined, deletions struck through. That's quite clear. And we will need to see the draft schedule of the final set of the main modifications before we go out for consultation, but we'll pick that up in the session on 12th of October. Now, the hearing sessions themselves, you will have seen we've published an examination guidance note, which is on the website for document reference ID 05. So that outlines the procedures that are to be followed at the hearing sessions and the way that the written representations will be dealt with and the availability of other information. The hearings programme has also been published, which is ID 07. So we intend to follow that. At this stage, I'm not aware that there are particular changes to that, but Stephanie is the person that marshals the programme for us. So in terms of the morning sessions, we will start at 10 AM and we'll run through till about 1 o'clock. The afternoon sessions will be from 2 o'clock till around 5 o'clock, but there may need to be some little bit of flexibility on that, but we will take breaks as we go through. So the hearing sessions themselves are in the format of a structured discussion, which one of us will lead based on the matters, issues and questions, which are also on the examination website. Document ID 04. If anyone needs a paper copy at any point, please speak to Stephanie and she arrange that for you. We do have an outline agenda for each matter. It is an outline agenda, so they will be distributed just before that matter starts. We are both going to be in attendance at all the sessions, so the inspector that's not leading the session may also have some questions. So Mr. Palmer is going to specifically lead on matters 3 and 6, whereas I will be leading everything else. So in order to test the plan, we do need to ask questions. You'll see that we've already been doing this through preliminary matters. That was the letter to the authorities back in April, document reference ID 01 on the website, and then also the matters, issues and questions that were published last month. So it may be the case that for some matters, with the written representations and also the hearing position statements, we now have enough information so there may be little or no discussion on these aspects. So we will invite people to speak at particular times. If you have something to contribute, then please indicate your wish to speak by turning your nameplate on its side, on its end. And if you wish to highlight certain parts of your statement or the documents, it would be really helpful to us and everyone present if you could give document reference or page or paragraph number. So from the programme, we are programmed to last 3 days this week. And we haven't scheduled any sessions for Friday. And we also have a reserve session on Tuesday the 12th of October, which will be a virtual session. That particular session, as the name suggests, is an opportunity to allow anyone who has the right to appear but has been unable to attend in person for exceptional reasons. But it will also be a session where we cover the administrative and procedural arrangements for the next step of the planning process with the authorities. So we'll close the hearings at that point, and then that's this part of the examination process. It's still a session that is open for anyone to observe. So anybody wanting to observe that session, please contact Stephanie, and we will prepare a guidance note with instructions, or technical instructions for joining, instructions for that virtual session. So the hearing sessions, as I said earlier, form part of the examination process, and therefore the examination as a whole will remain open until our report is submitted to the authorities. However, we're not seeking any further representations or evidence after the hearing sessions are closed unless we specifically requested it. And we have undertaken a brief tour around the plan area. So we've seen various different sites from the public land, but we may need to visit some sites again after the hearings have finished, but we'll do this unaccompanied unless we need specific access onto private land. So we will make arrangements through the programme officer as and when required for those. Does anyone have any questions about anything I just covered in these opening announcements? Thank you very much. So that's the end of the inspector's opening. I would now like to invite Councillor David Coppinger, the lead member for planning from the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead Council, to make his welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning. On behalf of Bracknell Forest Council, Reading Borough Council, Wokingham Borough Council and the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead, I formally welcome you all to this examination in public for the joint Central and Eastern Berkshire Minerals and Waste Plan. I'd like to give a special welcome to our inspectors, Rachel and Nicholas, and to our programme officer, Stephanie. You really are very welcome here. The last 18 months for all of us has been incredibly challenging, and it is particularly good to see everyone in person. People I've seen on screen for so long, I can now see really. It really is good. My name, as was said, is Councillor David Coppinger, and I'm actually the Cabinet Member for Planning, Environmental Services and for the town of Maidenhead, here at the Royal Borough. Today, I speak on behalf of all four authorities who have been involved for what seems quite some time in the preparation of this minerals and waste plan. Today marks the beginning of an important process, and the Royal Borough are really pleased to be able to host the event at the Town Hall here in Maidenhead. A town which is going through unbelievable change with new buildings coming up everywhere, and we definitely need the gravel to help us finish the job. We are immensely grateful for many people who have commented on the draft version of the plan over the last few years, whether that be statutory consultees, stakeholders, or the many members of the general public who have been involved. Similarly, I'm very grateful to Hampshire Services, who have led on the production of the plan on behalf of all of us, and all the officers in the wider team, many of whom are here today, all of whom have worked incredibly hard. Developing a plan across four authorities is complex and a challenging task. This plan is the culmination of years of hard work and joint working, which we believe provides a robust guide for mineral and waste decision making in the plan area. The amount of time, effort and resource which the team has brought to bear on this project over the last few years demonstrates, I believe, the joint commitment to achieving a plan that is, in our joint view, fit for purpose. We believe it strikes the right balance between meeting the needs for minerals to deliver new development, including much needed affordable housing, which is one of our key issues, I think, across all of the boroughs, the lack of affordable housing, family homes and supporting infrastructure, making suitable provision for the management of waste and protecting the environment for both present and future generations. We believe that we are now in a position where we have produced a high quality and robust plan that fulfills the relevant legal and soundness requirements and is capable of being adopted. We look forward to a constructive discussion over the next 3 days about the plan. These authorities are committed to adopting a plan that will serve us and our residents well for many years to come. Thank you.
I now invite Andrew Hunter from Berkshire to address.
Thank you, inspectors. My name is Andrew Hunter. I'm the Executive Director for Base Planning and Regeneration at Berkshire Forest Council. In 2015, the Berkshire authorities came together to decide how to take forward minerals and waste. As none of us have particular expertise in that area. In 2016, we worked with Hampshire Services to come together as four authorities. We had asked West Berkshire and staff to join us. West Berkshire already, somewhere through the process of making their own plan, and Sparrow decided to plan their own borough. So we brought on board Hampshire Services to help us take forward this plan for the central and eastern Berkshire area. What we felt, they have the technical expertise and we have the local knowledge of the place. So over the period of the last 4 years, we've been working collaboratively and collectively across the piece to bring forward the plans before you today. We've been doing that both jointly as officers, but also with a joint steering board with our members as well, so that we are collectively bringing forward the plan. And it's no need for you to get four authorities to all agree on a plan and we'll consult on it a number of times over that period. So we've been really pleased with how we've worked together. The plan before you is the culmination of all of that work and various consultations across all of the Berkshire authorities that were involved in the plan. And that has required us to undertake consultation at the local level and be involved in those that happen to be within our own areas, along with the expert help from Hampshire Services and their team. The submission plan before you is one which we believe is the right plan for the Berkshire authorities included in the plan area, and has been through a rigorous process of call for sites, consultations, evidence gathering, evidence base, and those are all before you today. So that was all that I wanted to say, really, but just to emphasise that collaboration between the four authorities in Hampshire. It's been a real key marker for us, and it really demonstrates the ability when you work collectively to come up with a good plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Just before we move into matter one, we'll just take a short comfort break, and then we'll be able to send around the agenda. So I'm conscious that clock isn't actually showing the correct time, which one hour out. But if we take just 10 minutes to we'll come back at 10:30. Thank you.
Sure I did.
Thank you. Right, it's 10:30. We will start with the main matter one, which is legal compliance. So that also includes the duty to cooperate. So there's a brief agenda. So we've got signs of that. So everyone taking part in all discussions on each of the main matters, you provide all the evidence in written representations, original representations, so the hearings are not an opportunity to submit any further, as I mentioned in my opening. So any comments that are made in any hearing session should therefore relate to the points made in your original representation. We have read those through. That's the original representations and the hearing position statements where they've been submitted, so there's no need to repeat what we've already said. So the purpose of each session will be to clarify or seek further information on the outstanding matters that we may still have. So can I ask the participants for main matter one for this morning's session to introduce themselves, please? I'll start with the council side.
Good morning, my name is Mrs. Briggs. I'm Planning Policy Manager at Hampshire Services. Good morning, I'm Ingina Zidorska. I'm Project Manager at Hampshire Services.
And will it just be the two of you for this main matter?
Yes, that's correct.
That's fine. Is anybody else wishing to speak in this matter? You're sitting there, you're not wishing to speak on this first one? Okay, that's fine, thank you. Okay, so beginning with the duty to cooperate topic, what I'm seeking to understand out of this part is where have we got to with the statements? What's the position? There were various statements that were written, some weren't signed, some were in the process of being signed. So as of today, could the authorities just outline where we got to with the list of duty to cooperate statements?
I can confirm that all four of the Central East and Berkshire authorities have signed up to all the statements of common ground. We do have a couple of outstanding signatures, one of which is with Slough Borough Council, You will note there's been some correspondence. It was our understanding that they were in a position ready to sign, but we understand there's a few difficulties within the authority at the moment, so we haven't been able to obtain a signature. But we are still chasing that up at the moment, and we hope to be able to get that sorted for you. In addition, there's a couple of outstanding signatures on the sharp sand and gravel and soft sand statement of common ground. A number of those were picked up in the last couple of weeks, and so we've sent you the most recent signatures on those. We haven't got a signature on the soft sand statement of common ground for Central Bedfordshire. They haven't engaged with the process, but they're one of the few authorities that haven't. We also haven't got a signature from Wiltshire Council. They also haven't engaged through the process today, but quite recently actually been in contact and have said that they would like to sign. So I'm hoping that again will follow up in the next few weeks. Lastly, Buckinghamshire Council, again, signified that they were looking to sign, but have been unable to get the signatures completed in the time discussed that we requested. But there was, as you can see from the correspondence and their engagement within the process, we don't feel there's an issue there going forward.
Okay, thank you for that. So just picking up on one or two bits that you've said there. So Slough, you referred to difficulties. Is that difficulties of members of staff or committee processes, or is there anything in the difficulties that we need to be concerned about there?
I think they're having sort of administrative issues at the moment, so it's been a bit difficult to engage with them more recently. But I understand there's sort of more high-level discussions going on at the moment to try and move the progression forward on the signing of the statement of common ground. I believe from our correspondence we've addressed their concerns and they were ready to sign. It's more of an administrative issue to get this signed off.
And for Central Bedfordshire, you said they're not engaged. So, how will that affect soft sand from a duty to operate point of view?
So we identified our soft sand contacts because there's a very lack of data in terms of movements of soft sand. We undertook our own study to understand where soft sand is coming through into the plan area. One of the sources of supply was Central Bedfordshire, that was indicated to us by an operator, as well as being picked up through the survey work we undertook. It's difficult because it doesn't tell you, we weren't able to kind of get information on quantities, just the areas in which the material was coming forward. But during our engagement with them, we never really received a response from them or Berkshire Council as another authority. But as you will see from our approach, we've contacted a number of authorities in the surrounding area. They're all sources of supply, so we feel that the number and the location of the more neighbouring authorities that they've indicated that they're happy with our approach should be sufficient for supply purposes.
You also mentioned Buckinghamshire. They didn't meet the deadline, I think you said in your statement. So have they indicated to you when that might be able to be forthcoming?
I will follow that up. We've actually got a working party meeting in a couple of weeks' time, so I will be in contact with them. But as I said, in the phone call discussions I had, it was more, again, with themselves an administrative issue, trying to get the right people in place to actually undertake the signatures.
So overall, in terms of the duty to cooperate, are there any outstanding issues that we need to discuss at this session?
We don't feel so.
Can I just ask about imports of crushed rock? Have there been any duty to cooperate discussions regarding that?
So there was two initial discussions on importation of crushed rock. Initially, we looked at we spoke to Scarborough Council about potential for crush rock imports from their Colnbrook facility. But once we'd undertaken discussions with them on that matter, we understood that the crush rock coming into that rail depot was actually only used for the facilities on site. There was no forward movement crush rock. But West Berkshire obviously is the main source for Central Eastern Berkshire and crush rock. Now they obviously are receiving their crush rock predominantly from Somerset Council, and they have put in place a statement of common ground with Somerset regarding the relationship between themselves and Somerset for the importation of crush rock. So we didn't feel it was necessary to duplicate that relationship because ours was via West Berkshire. And so the crush rock issues come back to another West Berkshire statement of common ground and other issues.
I'm just looking at your hearing position statements in paragraph 1.1, and you refer to sort of correspondence being undertaken. So page 2, correspondence meetings and attendance at the South East Waste Planning and Financial Group and the Agri Working Party. Could you just elaborate a little bit more on the topics that were discussed at that in more recent times? Maybe that was a submission of the plan, please.
I'll talk from the Agri Working Party point of view, and I'll ask Elena to talk on the waste side of things. So we attend the meetings regularly for the Agri Working Party, the South West Agri Working Party, and we attend as Hampshire persons representing the Central Eastern Berkshire authorities. As part of that, we prepare those aggregate assessments and communicate those, initiate discussions on the findings, and report back and finalise those on behalf of the authorities. One of the key issues in the last few years has been the movements of soft sand, because it's not just Central Eastern Berkshire that have raised issues with supply sources. There is soft sand within the region, but a lot of that is under protected areas, so national parks and areas of outstanding natural beauty. And it's not evenly distributed across the region. Equally, there's issues with silica sand, which, although it's not an aggregate, does form part of that discussion. So, as planning authorities within the region have moved forward and progressed with their plans, initially it was Kent and West Sussex. There's been a large number of discussions initiated on soft sand supply. And I understand there's also been an issue for West Berkshire, who are also progressing their plans. So as a collective, that has been one of the key discussion points and how to manage that in terms of some areas having supply and others not. And the progression and development of statements of common ground has been one of the kind of key forums for trying to understand those relationships.
And on the waste route, similarly, we attend the Southeast SOPAC 4 times a year. We represent the Central and Eastern Berkshire authorities there. One of the key things we've been working on is on combined regional level methodologies for waste ridings. Now, the Berkshire plan doesn't have the most recent methodologies, but we've been bearing kind of their development in mind when we prepared it. Some other key issues that have been discussed and became either position statements or part of the SOPAC statement of common ground. One key issue is deposit of inert material to land. We had a really good kind of to do some good work developing a joint statement about kind of the distinction between recovery and maybe uses that aren't quite recovery but are still considered beneficial uses. So that's the approach that we've taken as well. And then on the statement of common ground, the issue was around landfill. And there was discussions about whether it more regional, how it might appear in some plan areas and not in others. And kind of the general position as expressed with that statement of common ground is to be as enabling as possible, obviously bearing in mind the key principles of proximity and net self-sufficiency, but also be aware that there are these kind of market movements and no single authority can control.
Right, thank you. Thank you for that. So I'm just moving on through your position statements. Paragraph 1.3, you refer to the most stringent criteria in the statements of common ground. Could you just explain what the stringent nature of the criteria is for me, please?
Sorry, that was meant to kind of highlight that where we looked across all four of the states of community involvement and what requirements were for each of the four, if there was something that was a bit, an example of this may be the fact that someone said that if they're consulting over a school holiday, they would need to increase the consultation period by a couple of weeks. So we always made sure that whatever the most important, regular requirements were met, we were meeting them, even if it featured in one SDI, but not all four. We always made sure that everything was covered. So it might not be the right choice of words, but that's what we were trying to describe.
Thank you. That does help. Just moving on to paragraph 1.7, reference main modification 1. Now, in your schedule of proposed modifications, main modification 1 is about updating all the references in the National Planning Policy Framework to reflect the changes to the 2021 version. Just a note, really, you'll need to specify each one individually rather than have one capital one. So if you could just make a note that it may need a little bit of time just to work through those, which will inevitably be quite a lot of main modifications, but I think it's much clearer when you're in the consultation stage. It makes it easier to understand what's changing. Just moving on to paragraph 1.9, and your final sentence on there is in regards was had to the aim of fostering good relations. I'm just interested to hear a little bit more about what are fostering good relations, what's behind that statement.
So because the question was asking about the aims of the Equality Act and the further other two aims of the Equality Act, and one of them is fostering good relations between those with protected characteristics and those without. And we did bear that in mind, but it did not come up with something that's time to address.
Thank you for that. So we're moving quite swiftly through the agenda. I'm moving on towards the final topic of the conservation of habitats and species regulations. Could you just briefly summarise the process that you went through for the appropriate assessment to bring us to where we are today, please?
I'm afraid I'm not the author of the CC Habitat Regulation Assessment, My colleague is not here today that undertook that work, but he followed the methodology that was set out in the initial document that was submitted to Natural Evidence Consultee, and they didn't come back with any concerns over the methodology. I do know that as part of the process, they have undertaken more of a sort of precautionary approach in terms of if there was a suggestion that there could be an issue with the screening stage, those sites that were a potential risk weren't taken through to appropriate assessment. I can't talk you through the initial, actually methodology and approach, but I do know that a more precautionary approach was taken, and Natural England did not raise any concerns with our methodology or approach that we undertook.
Okay, I understand that, thank you. Right, well, that's the end of my questions on this particular matter. Mr. Fowler doesn't have any questions either. Does anybody else have anything else that they want to raise under this first main matter one? No? Well, that's a very good session for our first matter. It's 10:50. Now, in accordance with the programme, I can't move the session for this afternoon earlier because there may be other people that were intending to come and expect it to be starting at 2 o'clock. So we will need to start at 2 o'clock for the second matter. So if there's nothing else that anybody wants to say at this point, it is 10:50, so we will adjourn until 2 p.m. this afternoon. Thank you, everyone.